Today we're going to be ranking every live-action Batmobile starting with the 1943 serial. The Batmobile is essentially just an old 1939 Cadillac Series 75. Nothing that screams Batmobile. The only unique thing about this is that it's a convertible. This one isn't completely terrible, but it's not a Batmobile by any means. Going in the C tier. Next up we have the 1949 serial. In this one, they opted for a 1949 Mercury convertible. This was a nice car overall, but the problem was that it's a reddish maroon color. And although the earliest Batmobile in the comics was red, by this time we had already gotten the battering ram Batmobile in the comics. The first two serials were obviously constricted to lower budgets at the time, but I do feel like they could have at least made the car black. I'm going D on this one. Next we move on to the 1966 series, and I mean what a beautiful car. This Batmobile is based off the 1955 Lincoln Futura, a concept car made by Ford. This car was modified to fit the aesthetic of the Batman TV show, as this was the first time where we saw a Batmobile with multiple different gadgets such as radars, rockets, lasers. It even had a telephone and a computer. I think this car fits the era perfectly, and it has aged to be one of the best Batmobiles ever. I mean, look at the rims, the red accents, the unique windshield. Everything about this car is so cool. The original car from the show was sought after by many car enthusiasts, and it ended up selling at an auction for $4.6 million in 2013. Funny enough, the man who customized it originally purchased the car for just $1. This one is definitely going into the S tier. It is not only one of the most iconic Batmobiles of all time, but also one of the most iconic cars of all time. We move on to the Batmobile from the Tim Burton films, which was also shown for a brief period in The Flash. If someone asks you what comes to mind when you hear the word Batmobile, 9 times out of 10, they will think of this one. This version of the Batmobile is car design at its peak. They took a Chevy Impala for the body of the car and built it around a jet engine. One of the coolest things that I found about this version is how the cockpit slides open like a fighter jet, instantly giving off the impression that this thing is super fast. It has grappling hooks, machine guns, a crazy afterburner, and those giant side exhausts that make it look menacing. I also like how in the movie it has a security feature and is also capable of driving itself. This here has become the quintessential Batmobile across all media and would serve as inspiration in the comics and the animated series. This one's also going in the S tier. It's too iconic to not be there. We go on to Batman Forever. You can definitely see some inspiration from the Keaton Batmobile here, with the car having a long hood and the cockpit going all the way back. Fans are really polarized about this one. Some say it's just as great as the original, while others put it as the worst created. I personally find it cool. It's not as good as its predecessor, but it incorporates some unique features. Contrary to a lot of people, I really do like the mohawk wing in the middle. I also love how the car glows from its sides. I wish they did a better job with the front part of the car. Like the back half looks really menacing, and then it just looks bland at the front. I also think they went a little overboard with the whole ribbed look. That being said, it's still a solid Batmobile, and I really wish they could have used it for just one more movie. I'm going with a B on this one. Moving on, Batman and Robin. I really think that if they kept this design a bit more simple, it would have been much higher up on the list. The thing with this Batmobile is that there are some angles where it looks amazing, and then there are some where it just looks like it was meant to sell toys to kids when all the merch dropped for the movie. Like, there had to have been a McDonald's toy line or something with this film, because it just screams 1990s McDonald's toy. I think it fixed some of the issues from the Forever Batmobile, but then it proceeds to mess up some other parts. For example, I love the fact that it doesn't have the weird ribbed look, but then for some reason they leave the front wide open. I think if they covered up the front part, it would have been a B, but I'm going with a C on this one. Next we have the Tumbler from the Nolan trilogy. This isn't even a Batmobile, it's a damn tank. Nolan's team took a risk and reinvented the Batmobile into a more militarized vehicle, and in this iteration, it's one of the most badass versions to date. The chase scene in Batman Begins is one of the coolest things that I remember as a kid, where Batman is causing millions in property damage just to save Rachel. I don't know what it is, but when this thing drifts, it's one of the most satisfying things ever. Even in The Dark Knight, when the Batman launches the Batpod, it still goes to show how many cool functions this version of the Batmobile has. This one goes in the S tier as well. Next we have the Snyder Batmobile. Now this one feels like a good balance of both the Tumbler and the 1989 Batmobile. It also reminds me of the Batmobile that we got in Arkham Knight. During the chase scene in Batman v Superman, you can see the Batmobile at full display for what it's supposed to be, a super fast armored weapon. That being said, he legit kills like 10 people in this scene, so I guess we can't say it was very lore accurate, but it was badass to say the least. I also really liked it in Zack Snyder's Justice League. My only gripe is I wish we got to see it a little bit more than we did. I'm gonna give it an A. We now get to Gotham. It's really just a Mustang. Yep, nothing Batman about it, just a black Mustang. I get that it's a network TV show and the budgets aren't really going to be high for these kinds of things, but come on, you could have at least slapped some wings on it or something. This one gets an F for a lack of effort. We then move on to the Titans show. This time there is somewhat of a more Batman looking car, but it's barely shown. From the angle that we did get, it reminds me a lot of the animated series Batmobile. There was concept art of what the car was supposed to be. We can't really judge based on that, but only what we saw in the show. I'm giving it a D. It looked alright from the angle we got, but it didn't even show the full car. We move on to the Batwoman show. This is just a C7 Corvette with a logo slapped on it. I do appreciate that they put in some more effort unlike some of the other TV entries, but it still isn't anything great. And with the Batmobile, it needs to look more like a Batmobile than the car it's based on. This one gets a D. We now move on to the final entry, which is the 2022 Batmobile. This one is just a thing of beauty. I really do like how with each era we have our own new spin on the Batmobile. It went from a roadster to a tank and now an armored muscle car. It takes heavy inspiration from the cars of the 60s such as the Charger and the Camaro, and then it gives its own neoclassical spin to it. I love how big the engine is and it's completely stripped of any covering. Before I went to go watch this movie in theaters, I remember seeing the trailer of the Batmobile chase and I felt like they revealed a bit too much. But then when I went to go see it in theaters and you hear the first cold start and the mix of the turbine and the V8, it literally gave me goosebumps. The chase scene was, in my opinion, the best Batman chase scene we've ever gotten so far. I also love how the Batmobile is smaller than its previous versions, as it adds to the more grounded, realistic version of Gotham that Matt Reeves brought with this movie. This one deserves an S tier. It's one of the coolest sounding cars in all of film, and it gave us one of the best chase scenes in movie history. That's it for today. Hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know your rankings in the comments below. Thank you guys. Hope to see you next time. Goodbye.